Welcome back to our channel. You know old is gold, but these rare coins that are most valuable than you think. Don't spend these coins if you have these coins. Please watch complete video. Let's start this. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a 1-cent coin, could be worth more than a luxury mansion in California? Not a rare gold coin. Not a centuries-old treasure. A simple copper coin from 1941. And chances are, one may have passed through your hands without you ever realizing it. Today we're talking about the legendary 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, one of the most talked about coins among serious collectors and investors. A coin that, under the right circumstances and with the right era, has reached market values as high as $865,000. And before you dismiss that number, consider this. History has repeatedly shown that small overlooked details can create massive financial opportunity. In 1941, the United States was standing at the edge of global transformation. The coin was struck at the United States Mint in Philadelphia, which at the time did not use a mint mark. That's why the absence of a mint mark on a 1941 penny is normal. But here's where it becomes extraordinary. Certain 1941 no-mint mark wheat pennies were struck with rare minting errors, dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that transformed an ordinary cent into a collector's obsession. The coin itself carries the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design created by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, the classic wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent, symbolizing America's agricultural backbone. This design, known officially as the wheat penny, was produced from 1909 to 1958 and remains one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. Now let's move into Act 1, the discovery. Imagine this. You're sorting through an old jar of coins. Maybe it belonged to your parents. Maybe it's been sitting in your garage for decades. You're half paying attention, and then you see it. 1941, no mint mark. At first glance, it seems ordinary. But then you notice something unusual. The date looks slightly doubled. The lettering appears thicker than normal. The strike seems unusually sharp. That moment, right there, is where opportunity begins. Here's what most people don't understand. Rarity isn't always about age. It's about condition and error. A 1941 no-mint mark penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents. But a high-grade uncirculated example with a significant mint error? That's where values can skyrocket. Collectors pay premiums for coins graded MS-67 and above. Add a dramatic double die error to that level of preservation, and you've entered elite territory. And here's the emotional trigger most people ignore: fear of missing out. Every year, valuable coins are unknowingly spent at face value. People trade away small fortunes for a cup of coffee. The difference between someone living an ordinary financial life and someone making a strategic windfall can come down to awareness. Knowledge creates leverage. When a 1941 no-mint mark era penny surfaces in exceptional condition, it is typically authenticated and graded by professional services like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. These institutions evaluate strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and the legitimacy of the error. Once encapsulated in a certified holder, the coin becomes not just currency, but an asset, and here's where excitement builds. Auction houses such as Heritage Auctions have documented record-breaking sales for rare wheat pennies, especially those combining scarcity, pristine grade, and dramatic error. When two serious collectors want the same coin, price logic disappears. Bidding wars begin. And that's how valuations can climb toward extraordinary figures like $865,000. Let me pause for a second and ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your possession? Not glanced at them. Looked at them. Because hidden wealth rarely announces itself. It hides in plain sight. The demand for rare Lincoln wheat pennies continues to grow. Why? Because serious collectors understand that supply is permanently limited. No more 1941 wheat pennies will ever be made. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or permanently removed from circulation. Scarcity increases. Demand intensifies. Prices respond accordingly. For Americans between 30 and 65, this is not just about coins. It's about strategy. It's about transforming overlooked assets into financial leverage. It's about understanding that wealth sometimes begins with small, disciplined action. Checking, verifying, authenticating, acting, but urgency matters. The coin market is cyclical. When demand surges, opportunities tighten. The highest prices are realized by those who act when they discover value, not those who hesitate. Imagine discovering you once owned a coin worth hundreds of thousands, but sold it for 1 cent because you didn't verify it. That regret would last far longer than the time it takes to examine your collection properly. And here's a light reset for you, because we all need one. If pennies weren't valuable, collectors wouldn't be locking them in vaults. Think about that. Nobody builds a safe for pocket change. They build safes for assets. The 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny with a significant error in elite condition represents the intersection of history, rarity, and preservation. It embodies a moment in pre-war America. It reflects the craftsmanship of the United States Mint. And in rare cases, it represents life-changing value. So here's your call to action. Go through your coin jars. Check inherited collections. Look carefully at every 1941 penny with no mint mark. Examine the date. Inspect the lettering. Study the strike. If something looks unusual, don't guess. Verify. Have it authenticated. Because the only difference between a forgotten penny and an $865,000 asset is awareness and action. Opportunity does not knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers in copper. And if you're serious about building wealth from rare coins, remember this: fortunes are often found by those willing to look closer than everyone else. What if I told you that a single penny, a coin most people would toss into a jar without a second thought, could be worth $887,000? Not a rare gold coin. Not a century-old silver dollar. But a simple, humble 1944 wheat penny. And before you dismiss this as hype, ask yourself this question: when was the last time you actually checked the date on the pennies sitting in your drawer? This is not just about a coin. This is about opportunity. Hidden opportunity. The kind that slips through fingers every single day because most people don't know what they're holding. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny, the rare error that transformed an ordinary cent into a near $1 million treasure, and why collectors across America are aggressively hunting for it right now. Let's step back into 1944. The United States was deep in World War II. Copper was critical for military equipment, shell casings, wiring, communication systems. In 1943, the U.S. Mint made pennies out of steel to conserve copper. But in 1944, copper production resumed. Or at least, that was the plan. What makes certain 1944 pennies so valuable is a shocking minting mistake. Some were accidentally struck on leftover 1943 steel planchets. Imagine that. A transitional error. A moment in history captured in metal. And because these errors were never meant to exist, they became some of the most coveted coins in American numismatics. Now here's where it gets serious. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark at that time. Most 1944 pennies are copper and extremely common. But the rare steel era version? That's the legend. That's the coin that has sold privately and at auction for amounts approaching $887,000 depending on condition and authentication. Let that number sink in. $887,000 for 1 cent. Here's the emotional trigger most people don't talk about. Fear. Because somewhere in America, someone already spent one of these on a soda decades ago. Someone unknowingly dropped nearly $1 million into circulation. That's the painful truth. And the exciting truth? There's still a possibility one is hiding in plain sight. Picture this. You're sorting through a jar of old coins inherited from a parent or grandparent. You find a 1944 penny. It looks slightly different. Maybe it has a silver-gray tone instead of the typical copper color. You test it with a magnet, and it sticks. That moment? That heartbeat? That is life-changing territory. Because authentic 1944 steel pennies are magnetic. Copper ones are not. Now let's pause for a second. Quick question. When was the last time you used a magnet on a penny? Exactly. Most people never do. And that's why the opportunity still exists. Collectors value this coin not just because it's rare, but because it represents a powerful historical error. The combination of wartime production shifts and leftover steel blanks created a mistake that was never supposed to leave the mint. Fewer than a few dozen are believed to exist. Scarcity drives demand. Demand drives price. And in today's market, rare U.S.-era coins are seeing intensified attention as tangible assets. The authority of major grading companies like PCGS and NGC has confirmed authenticated specimens of the 1944 steel wheat penny, and when certified in high grade, these coins command extraordinary premiums. Wealthy collectors compete aggressively for pieces with documented provenance. This isn't speculation. This is a market fueled by scarcity and status. Let's connect this to you. You're not just watching this because you like history. You're here because you understand that wealth sometimes hides in unexpected places. Maybe you've been holding on to old pennies for years. Maybe you've ignored them. But what if one coin in your collection could accelerate your financial goals? Pay off debt. Fund a retirement dream. Elevate your lifestyle. Here's where urgency comes in. The coin market moves in cycles. When media attention spikes around high-value sales, more people search their collections. More coins get discovered. Supply increases slightly, and competition tightens. The earlier you verify what you have, the stronger your position. Waiting doesn't create opportunity, action does. Now let's reset your attention with a simple thought. If you found a penny worth $887,000, would you still call it just a penny? Probably not. You'd call it a miracle. Or maybe preparation meeting opportunity. The path forward is clear and strategic. Examine any 1944 pennies you own. Look for the absence of a mint mark under the date, which indicates Philadelphia. Check the color. If it appears silver or steel gray, test it with a magnet. If it sticks, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, consult a reputable coin dealer or submit it for professional grading. And let me emphasize something important in a positive and powerful way. The existence of this coin proves that extraordinary value can exist in ordinary places. That's not fantasy. That's documented numismatic history. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny error has become legendary because it combines three powerful forces: historical significance, minting error rarity, and collector obsession. That trio creates explosive value potential. And as long as high-net-worth collectors continue to compete for top-tier rarities, coins like this remain in elite demand. Imagine the story you could tell. I found it in a jar. It sounds unbelievable. Yet stories like that are exactly how some rare coins re-enter the spotlight. So here's the final thought. Somewhere in the United States, there may still be a 1944 steel wheat penny sitting unnoticed. Maybe in a bankroll. Maybe in a family collection. Maybe in your possession. The difference between those who discover value and those who don't often comes down to awareness and action. Don't overlook the small things. History rewards the observant. Wealth rewards the prepared. And sometimes the journey to a more abundant lifestyle begins with something as small and as powerful as a single penny. What if I told you that a single copper penny, something you may have tossed into a jar, dropped between couch cushions, or handed to a cashier without a second thought, could be worth $893,000 today? Not a gold coin. Not a rare silver dollar. A simple 1-cent piece. And not just any cent, but the 1952 Dewey penny struck at the legendary United States Mint in Denver. Before you dismiss that as impossible, ask yourself this: how many old pennies are sitting in your home right now? This is the story of the 1952 Dewey penny era coin, an overlooked masterpiece of American minting history, and how ordinary people have turned tiny pieces of copper into life-changing wealth. If you are between 30 and 65, living in the United States, holding on to jars of old coins with the quiet suspicion that one of them might be special. This message is for you. Because the opportunity is real. And the window is narrow. The Denver branch of the United States Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat cents featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse. Most of these coins were perfectly ordinary. But in rare moments that collectors dream about, something extraordinary happened inside those massive coining presses. Certain 1952 pennies were struck with dramatic minting errors. We're talking about rare doubled dies so bold they look almost alive. Off-center strikes so striking they appear artistic. And in extremely limited cases, combinations of die misalignment and strong doubling that create a visual anomaly powerful enough to electrify the numismatic market. These are not minor flaws. These are high-impact, highly visible errors that command serious money when authenticated and graded in top condition. Now here's the part that should make you lean forward. Point 1. Pristine, high-grade 1952 era penny, authenticated and preserved in near-perfect condition, has reached a market valuation approaching $893,000. That's not hype. That's what happens when rarity meets demand, and demand meets wealthy collectors who compete aggressively for trophy coins. In elite numismatic circles, the right era coin is not pocket change. It's a status symbol. Pause for a moment. Imagine opening an old drawer and finding something that could erase debt, fund retirement, or transform your lifestyle. It sounds like a lottery ticket, but this isn't luck. This is knowledge. The 1952 wheat penny is already desirable because of its age and historical context. But era varieties are in a league of their own. When a doubled die displays clear separation in Lincoln's profile or bold doubling in the lettering, collectors notice immediately. When a strike error shifts the design off-center while retaining the full date and mint mark, serious buyers take action. And when such a coin survives in high mint state condition, untouched, uncleaned, preserved, its value multiplies exponentially. Here's the truth many people don't realize. Most valuable coins are not discovered by professional treasure hunters. They are found by everyday Americans who took the time to look closely. That jar in your kitchen. That inherited coin album. That box from your grandparents' attic. Opportunity rarely announces itself. It waits quietly. Let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable. When was the last time you checked your old pennies carefully? Not glanced at them. Not assumed they were common. Actually inspected the date. The mint mark. The lettering. Because fear is powerful, and there is a very real fear here. The fear of unknowingly spending a six-figure coin at a gas station. It happens. More often than people admit. But here's the empowering shift. Knowledge eliminates fear. The Denver mint mark, small but mighty, sits beneath the date. That tiny D connects your coin directly to the Denver facility of the United States Mint. Combine that with visible doubling, striking irregularities, and exceptional condition, and you may be holding something the market is actively hunting. And let's talk about demand. High net worth collectors compete for standout era coins because they are finite. They cannot be recreated. They cannot be manufactured today. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or improperly cleaned, shrinking the supply. Scarcity drives intensity. Intensity drives price. And premium 1952 era pennies have developed a reputation as sleeper assets, quietly powerful, highly desirable, and increasingly difficult to acquire. Quick reset, because attention is currency too. If you're thinking, it's just a penny, remember that someone once said the same thing about Bitcoin at $1. Perspective changes everything. If you believe you may have a 1952 wheat penny with a visible error, resist the urge to clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Preserve it exactly as it is. The market rewards originality. Authentication and professional grading are critical because third-party certification validates condition and authenticity, unlocking access to serious buyers and high-end auctions. This is not about gambling. It's about awareness, strategic evaluation, intelligent selling. The collectors paying 6 and 7 figures are not emotional impulse buyers. They are investors who understand rarity and compete for the finest known examples. Now imagine the lifestyle shift: paying off your mortgage, funding your children's education, investing in assets that generate passive income, taking control of your financial future because you recognized opportunity in something others overlooked. Wealth often hides in plain sight. The 1952 Dewey penny era is more than a coin. It represents leverage, the ability to turn small knowledge into massive advantage. And while not every penny will be worth hundreds of thousands, the few that are, change lives. So tonight, instead of scrolling endlessly, open that drawer. Examine those old rolls. Feel the weight of possibility in your hands. Because history is not locked in museums. Sometimes, it's sitting quietly in your home, waiting for you to notice. And if you do discover that rare 1952 era penny, remember this moment. The moment you decided to look closer. The moment excitement overcame doubt. The moment a single cent had the power to redefine your future. Before we begin, let me ask you something that might change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer right now. What if one ordinary penny, a single copper coin most people would ignore, could be worth as much as $903,000? Not a stock. Not real estate. Not crypto. A penny. And not just any penny, but a rare era example of the 1952 sweet penny. If you've ever dreamed of turning forgotten coins into serious wealth, today's story may be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. In 1952, the United States Mint struck millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. Among them were coins from the San Francisco Mint bearing the S Mint mark. At first glance, the 1952 wheat penny looks like any other coin from the United States. On the obverse, the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln. On the reverse, the classic wheat ears design that collectors affectionately call the wheat penny. Ordinary. Familiar. Easy to overlook. And that is exactly why opportunity hides in plain sight. But here's where Act 1 begins: the realization that not all coins are created equal. Some 1952 pennies were struck with dramatic mint errors. We're talking about rare, visually striking anomalies, bold double dies where lettering appears shadowed and powerful, off-center strikes that immediately command attention, and high-grade specimens preserved in near-perfect condition for decades. These are not damaged coins. These are mint-made mistakes, rare mechanical events during production that transformed ordinary metal into extraordinary assets. And in today's high-demand collector market, elite examples of these era coins, especially in pristine, certified condition, have reached valuations approaching $903,000. Pause for a moment. Imagine discovering that in a small jar of pennies inherited from a parent, or tucked away in a forgotten safe, sits a coin that could fund your retirement, eliminate debt, or redefine your family's financial future. Sounds unbelievable? That's exactly what many collectors thought, until auctions proved otherwise. Why is this particular 1952 sweet penny commanding such attention? It comes down to three unstoppable forces: rarity, condition, and certification. The San Francisco Mint produced fewer pennies than some other facilities that year. Now add a legitimate mint error. Now add top-tier preservation. You are no longer holding pocket change, you are holding a statistical anomaly. And here's what most people don't realize. The majority of surviving wheat pennies circulated heavily. They were used in candy stores, laundromats, gas stations. They lived rough lives. Finding a sharply struck, error-bearing 1952 an extraordinary grade is like finding a flawless diamond in a gravel driveway. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you actually examined your pennies under magnification? Not glanced at them. Studied them. Looked at the mint mark. The date. The spacing in the lettering. Because while most people scroll endlessly on their phones, serious collectors are scanning for doubled dies and subtle shifts in alignment. And here's the emotional truth: the fear is not that these coins don't exist. The fear is that someone else will find yours first. The market for rare Lincoln wheat era coins has intensified over the past decade. Wealthy collectors understand something powerful: tangible assets with historical significance, and limited supply tend to command premium prices. Especially coins tied to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and mid-century American minting history. There is also urgency here. As more collectors enter the market and more coins are certified and locked into long-term collections, availability shrinks. Supply tightens. Demand strengthens. Prices respond accordingly. Now let's connect the dots. You are between 30 and 65. You understand assets. You understand appreciation. You understand that wealth often comes from recognizing value before the crowd does. Rare coin collecting is no longer just a hobby, it is a strategic arena where knowledge turns into leverage. But here's the pattern interrupt.no. This is not about grabbing every 1952's penny and shouting, "I'm rich!" If that were true, we'd all be millionaires from couch cushions. This is about precision. About knowing exactly what to look for. Strong doubling in. Liberty. Crisp separation in the date. A clear and well-defined S mint mark. Surfaces free of heavy wear. Coins that, when authenticated and graded by respected third-party services, enter a completely different financial category. Certification transforms possibility into documented value. It is the bridge between speculation and serious money. And here comes Act 3, the resolution and empowerment. Imagine sending in a carefully selected 1952's wheat penny for grading. Weeks later, you receive confirmation, a high-grade, genuine mint-era specimen. Auction houses begin circling. Collectors take notice. Bidding escalates. Suddenly, what was once dismissed as a simple penny commands six figures, possibly approaching that remarkable $903,000 benchmark under the right circumstances. This is not fantasy. This is the power of rarity meeting demand, and here's the bigger picture. Even if your coin does not reach the highest recorded valuation, premium examples still command extraordinary prices. The ceiling proves what is possible. The market validates the demand. The history gives it substance. So what should you do today? Start by examining every 1952's wheat penny you encounter. Use magnification. Compare known doubled die characteristics. Protect coins in proper holders. Avoid cleaning them. Seriously, don't polish away potential value in the name of shine. Preservation is power. Most importantly, shift your mindset. The wealthy do not ignore small assets. They investigate them. They understand that hidden value often sits where others failed to look. That jar of pennies? That inherited collection? That old roll from a bank decades ago? Opportunity does not announce itself with fireworks. It whispers. And let me leave you with this. Somewhere in America, a 1952's wheat penny era coin is sitting unnoticed right now. It could be in a box, a drawer, a forgotten envelope. The question is simple. Will it be you who recognizes it? Because in the world of rare coins, knowledge is leverage, timing is critical, and action separates the curious from the wealthy. Examine closely. Move decisively. And remember, sometimes the smallest coin can carry the largest opportunity. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the same jar that has been sitting on a shelf for decades, and pulling out a single penny that could be worth $909,000. Not a rare gold coin. Not a silver dollar. A simple copper cent tonight. We're talking about the legendary 1953 wheat penny era coin, a tiny piece of American history that could quietly be sitting in someone's drawer right now, maybe even yours. In 1953, the United States Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat cents for everyday circulation. At the Denver Mint, dies were striking coins day and night, feeding a booming post-war economy. Most of those coins were ordinary. But occasionally, in the high-speed rhythm of production, something extraordinary happened. A misaligned die. A dramatic double strike. A rare minting anomaly that slipped past inspection. And when lightning strikes in the world of numismatics, collectors pay attention. The 1953 wheat penny featuring a dramatic error, particularly one with strong doubling or a major off-center strike, has captured the imagination of serious collectors. When authenticated in exceptional condition, One such specimen has been valued in the range of $909,000 in today's high-end market. Let that sink in. $909,000 for a penny originally worth 1 cent. Now pause for a second. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Be honest. Most people toss them into a jar, a cup holder, or leave them behind at the checkout counter. That casual habit could be costing someone a small fortune. And that's not hype. That's the psychology of scarcity. When a coin era survives in pristine condition for more than 70 years, the supply becomes microscopic. And when wealthy collectors compete for microscopic supply, prices escalate dramatically. The 1953 wheat penny belongs to the beloved wheat cent series, first introduced in 1909 featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. These coins carry nostalgia, history, and national identity. But era coins? They carry adrenaline. A bold doubling in the date. A striking misalignment that shifts the design off-center. A powerful visual mistake that transforms an everyday coin into a conversation piece worth nearly $1 million. And here's where it gets serious. The coin market rewards condition. We're not talking about worn, scratched, heavily circulated examples. We're talking about coins that have survived with exceptional detail, sharp wheat stalks, clean fields, crisp mint mark under the date. The small D beneath the 1953 tells you it was born in Denver. But the error is what makes it legendary. Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. What if you already had one, and you didn't know? What if it passed through your hands years ago? Fear of missing out is real in this market. Because once a high-grade error surfaces and is purchased by a major collector, it can disappear into a private vault for decades. The opportunity doesn't wait. But this isn't about fear alone. It's about awakening. Across America, adults between 30 and 65 are rediscovering the power of tangible assets. Coins are not digital numbers. They are physical, historical, finite. When markets fluctuate and headlines create uncertainty, rare coins remain anchored in collector demand and historical significance. And the 1953 wheat penny era stands as a shining example of how a humble cent can become a six-figure, even near seven-figure, asset. Now imagine the moment. You send your coin for professional authentication. The graders examine it under magnification. They confirm the error. They assign a high grade. The certification comes back. Suddenly, you're no longer holding pocket change. You're holding leverage. Wealth. Options. That's the transformation collectors chase. And here's a quick reality check with a smile. If you're still using pennies to scratch lottery tickets, please stop. You might be scratching away your retirement fund. Humor aside, this is where attention to detail changes lives. The difference between a common 1953 penny and a rare error example can be subtle to the untrained eye, but dramatic to the trained one. The demand for rare wheat cent errors continues to be fueled by serious numismatists, investors, and collectors who understand scarcity. They understand history. And they understand that once the finest examples are locked away, the competition intensifies for the remaining few. High demand meets ultra-low supply, and the market responds accordingly. This is Act 3, the decision point. You have two paths. Ignore the possibility and treat every penny as ordinary. Or examine them. Research them. Handle them carefully. Protect them. Because in the world of rare coins, awareness creates opportunity. And opportunity, when recognized early, can transform a small discovery into a life-changing moment. The 1953 wheat penny error isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that wealth can hide in plain sight. It's proof that history rewards those who pay attention. And it's a call to action, not out of desperation, but out of intelligent curiosity. So tonight, open that jar. Check those dates. Look closely at that mint mark. Examine the strike. Because somewhere in America, someone is holding a 1953 era penny worth $909,000, and they don't know it yet. What if I told you that a single copper coin, smaller than a bottle cap, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a tech stock. Not real estate. Not cryptocurrency. A simple penny. And not just any penny, but the legendary 1955 VDB Lincoln penny. Now, before you dismiss that as fantasy, stay with me. Because somewhere in America right now, these coins are sitting in dresser drawers, coin jars, estate boxes, and forgotten piggy banks. And one specific era variety has driven collectors into a frenzy, pushing elite condition examples toward a jaw-dropping market valuation of $954,000. This is not hype. This is opportunity. Picture the year 1955. America is booming. The highways are expanding, Elvis is about to explode onto the scene, and the United States Mint is striking millions of pennies for everyday commerce. At the Denver Mint, workers produced the 1955 VDB cents, solid, dependable coins meant for circulation, not for headlines. But here's where history shifts. A rare minting anomaly occurs, an error so subtle that most people overlooked it for decades. Misalignment. Die issues. Striking inconsistencies. And in extremely rare cases, dramatic doubling and structural irregularities that transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into a collector's obsession. Let me ask you something. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And what if one of them had the power to change your financial future? That's not exaggeration. That's numismatics. The 1955 VDB penny features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse. At first glance, it looks like any other mid-century cent, but collectors don't look at coins casually. They examine them under magnification. They analyze die markers. They inspect mint marks. They study strike sharpness and luster. And when a rare error specimen surfaces, especially one preserved in near-perfect mint state, the market reacts instantly. High-grade, authenticated error examples have commanded extraordinary valuations in elite auctions. Why? Because rarity fuels demand. Demand fuels competition. And competition fuels price. Now imagine this scenario. A collector in his late 40s inherits a jar of old coins from his father. He almost takes them to a coin-counting machine. Almost. Instead, curiosity nudges him to inspect them more closely. Under magnification, he notices something unusual about a 1955 VDB penny. Subtle doubling. Crisp detail. Exceptional preservation. That decision, to pause instead of dismiss, could represent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's the truth that most people never hear. Coin wealth doesn't scream. It whispers. And in today's market, rare mid-century mint errors are in high demand. Wealthy collectors are aggressively acquiring tangible assets. Why? Because rare coins are portable, historically significant, and insulated from many modern financial shocks. Let's be honest for a moment. If someone offered you $954,000 for a coin that once bought a piece of candy, would you hesitate? Exactly. Now here's where urgency enters the picture. Coins degrade. Coins get spent. Coins get damaged. Every year, surviving high-grade examples become scarcer. And scarcity increases value. The 1955 VDB era variety represents a perfect storm: historical appeal, limited surviving population, and elite collector demand. When top-tier grading services authenticate and encapsulate one of these specimens in exceptional condition, the market responds with serious money. But here's the emotional trigger most people ignore: regret. Imagine discovering years from now that you once owned one, but unknowingly spent it. That's not fear-mongering. That's reality. Valuable coins are lost every day because owners didn't recognize what they had. So what should you do? Slow down. Inspect your coins. Focus on 1955 pennies with the D mint mark beneath the date. Examine strike clarity, doubling characteristics, and overall preservation. Consider professional grading. The difference between average condition and pristine mint state can mean the difference between hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And here's a pattern interrupt for you. If pennies were worthless, why do multimillionaires collect them? Because they understand something most people don't. Rare coins are not pocket change. They are historical artifacts with financial leverage. For Americans between 30 and 65 who are serious about building wealth, this isn't about gambling. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that extraordinary value sometimes hides in ordinary places. The story of the 1955 DeWitt penny isn't just about copper and mint marks. It's about vision. It's about pausing long enough to see opportunity where others see spare change. And here's the connection that ties everything together. Wealth favors the observant. The same mindset that identifies investment opportunities in business or real estate is the mindset that recognizes rare coin potential. Attention to detail. Patience. Decisive action. Right now, elite collectors are actively seeking high-grade 1955D era specimens. Demand remains strong. Supply remains limited. And when those forces collide, values rise. So the question is simple. Will you ignore the pennies in your possession, or will you examine them with new eyes? Because somewhere in circulation history, a 1955 DeWitt penny transformed from 1 cent into a 6-figure, and potentially near 7-figure, asset, and the next one discovered could be closer than you think. Before you spend another penny, look at it. Before you dismiss another old coin, study it. And before you assume wealth only comes from obvious sources, remember this: sometimes fortune is disguised as pocket change, and sometimes it's stamped with the year 1955 and a small d beneath the date. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is attention. Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies tonight and pulling out a coin worth nearly $1 million. Not a gold coin. Not a rare ancient artifact. But a simple copper cent. The kind you've walked past on sidewalks your entire life. What if I told you that one version of the Lincoln Wheat penny, specifically the 1955 no-mint mark example, has shaken the coin collecting world and commanded values approaching $976,000 in today's elite market conditions? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at every single penny in your possession. That year, millions of cents were struck bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the classic wheat stalks on the reverse. Most of them were ordinary, spendable, forgettable. But hidden within that production run was one of the most dramatic minting errors in American history: a bold double die obverse. This wasn't a tiny flaw you need a microscope to see. This was dramatic. The date. The word. Liberty. The motto. In God we trust. All visibly doubled. Striking. Unmistakable. Almost rebellious. Now here's where excitement meets opportunity. In 1955, pennies struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark. So when we say, no mint mark, that's not the error, that's the origin. The real treasure lies in the powerful double die effect combined with pristine condition. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight. High-grade examples of the 1955 double die cent have sold for jaw-dropping sums, and elite specimens in near-perfect condition have approached the upper 6 figures. We're talking about a coin that once bought a piece of bubblegum, now commanding prices close to $976,000 under exceptional market circumstances. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. Looked. Because thousands of these coins entered circulation before the era was widely recognized. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into tip jars, saved in piggy banks. Some are still out there. And that's not hype. That's history. The 1955 double die cent became legendary almost immediately. Collectors rushed to find them. Dealers scrambled. But many people dismissed them as damaged coins. Some were spent. Some were lost. Some are sitting right now in forgotten collections across America. The tragedy? Most people don't know what they're holding. And in the world of rare coins, ignorance can cost you a fortune. Here's what makes this coin so powerful in today's market. Demand is relentless. The 1955 double die cent is not just a mint error, it's a cultural icon in American numismatics. It represents a moment when the minting process created something extraordinary by accident. Serious collectors consider it a cornerstone piece. Auction houses spotlight it. Investors pursue it. When top-tier examples appear, bidding wars ignite. And let's pause for a second. If a penny can be worth nearly $1 million, what does that say about the hidden assets quietly sitting in your drawers? Funny how we insure our cars, our homes, even our phones, but we ignore the jar of copper in the kitchen. That jar might deserve a security system. Condition is everything. A circulated example is valuable. But an uncirculated, sharply struck, red luster specimen with bold doubling? That's where prices escalate dramatically. Professional grading services authenticate and encapsulate these coins, transforming them from loose change into investment-grade assets. The difference between average and elite can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not exaggeration. That's the power of preservation. Imagine discovering one. Imagine sending it for grading. Imagine watching it cross the auction block as collectors compete for ownership. This is not fantasy, it's happened before. The 1955 double-die cent has consistently proven itself as one of the most sought-after era coins in U.S. history. Its legend only grows stronger with time. But here's the urgency. As awareness spreads, fewer examples remain hidden. The longer people wait to search, the slimmer the odds become. Every year, more coins are authenticated, cataloged, and locked into private collections. Opportunity does not disappear overnight, it quietly shrinks. And yet, the beauty of this story is that it empowers you. You don't need insider connections. You don't need Wall Street access. You need curiosity, knowledge, action. Start by examining the date closely. Look for strong, clear doubling on the numbers 1-9-5-5 and the lettering. Compare with verified images from reputable sources. If you suspect you have one, seek professional authentication. Never clean the coin. Never alter it. Preservation protects profit. This isn't just about a coin. It's about perspective. Wealth is often hidden in plain sight. The 1955 no-mint mark double-die wheat penny reminds us that extraordinary value can emerge from ordinary objects. And for collectors between 30 and 65, those building legacy, planning retirement, or seeking financial breakthroughs, rare coins represent tangible, historic, appreciating assets that combine passion with potential profit. So tonight, when you pass by that old jar of pennies, pause. Because one of them could be a silent legend. One of them could be the 1955 double-die cent that collectors chase and investors respect. And if you find it, you won't just own a coin. You'll own a piece of American history, and possibly a life-changing asset approaching $976,000 in elite market conditions. The question isn't whether these coins exist. They do. The question is whether one of them is already in your possession, waiting for you to recognize it. What if I told you that a single copper penny, so ordinary, so overlooked, could be worth nearly $1 million today? Not a gold coin. Not a rare silver dollar. A simple 1-cent piece. And not just any penny, but a 1957 wheat penny with no mint mark and a powerful error that has sent collectors into a frenzy. Before you dismiss this as another coin myth, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your drawer? The 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny comes from the final era of the legendary wheat design, officially known as the Lincoln wheat penny. Struck in Philadelphia in 1957, these coins traditionally carried no mint mark, which was standard for that facility at the time. But here's where things become extraordinary. A rare and dramatic error variation from 1957, most famously the double-die obverse, has become one of the most sought-after coins among serious collectors. And in pristine, high-grade condition, elite examples tied to major error characteristics have reached jaw-dropping six-figure valuations, with market hype pushing sensational claims as high as $992,000 in premium speculative listings. Now pause for a moment. Think about this. In 1957, a penny could buy you something real. A piece of candy. A newspaper. A moment in time. The Abraham Lincoln portrait on that coin witnessed the post-war American boom, the rise of suburbia, the birth of modern industry. Millions were minted. Billions circulated. But only a microscopic fraction carry the dramatic doubling that transforms them from pocket change into treasure. Here's the twist. Most people who have this coin don't even know it. They see 1957. They see no mint mark. They shrug. They toss it into a jar. And that is where opportunity is either lost or seized. The famous 1957 double die error shows visible doubling in the words, liberty, and in God we trust. Not machine doubling. Not where. True hub doubling, bold, unmistakable, powerful. When graded at the highest mint state levels, especially with red luster fully intact, these coins ignite bidding wars. Collectors don't just want them. They compete for them. Why? Because error coins tell a story of imperfection inside a system built for perfection. And rarity drives demand. Let me reset your focus for a second. If I handed you $1 million today, would you check your couch cushions tomorrow? Of course you would. Yet Americans overlook billions of pennies every year. The irony is almost humorous. We chase stocks. We chase crypto. We chase real estate. But we ignore the copper sitting in plain sight. Now here's where excitement turns into urgency. The coin market is cyclical. Interest in error coins has surged dramatically over the last decade. Wealthy collectors are diversifying into tangible assets. And coins tied to historic designs, especially the Wheat series, carry emotional weight. The United States Mint produced over 282 million pennies in Philadelphia in 1957. That sounds common. But in gem uncirculated condition with dramatic doubling? Extremely scarce. Imagine discovering one in brilliant red condition, professionally graded, authenticated, sealed in a holder. Imagine listing it at auction. Imagine two determined collectors who both need that coin to complete a registry set. What happens next? Prices escalate. Emotion takes over. The market decides its value, not the face value stamped on it. Here's something most people won't tell you. Condition is king. A worn 1957 penny with minor doubling might be worth hundreds. A sharp, high-grade specimen with bold doubling can move into tens of thousands. And in speculative high-end scenarios, especially if tied to unique error characteristics, pristine color, and intense demand, valuations can skyrocket into extraordinary territory, with sensational listings claiming figures approaching $992,000. Now let's address the fear. What if you've had one for years and never noticed? What if you spend it? That fear should not paralyze you, it should activate you. Because millions of these coins still sit in jars, estate collections, inherited boxes, forgotten bank rolls. Let me ask you something direct. When was the last time you searched through a family coin collection? When did you last examine the word liberty under magnification? A simple 10x loop could change your financial trajectory. And here's the bigger picture. Wealth is often hidden in overlooked places. The disciplined eye sees what others ignore. That's true in business. It's true in investing. And it's absolutely true in coin collecting. The 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a symbol of awareness. Of timing. Of recognizing value before the crowd does. As more people learn about high-value error coins, competition increases. Supply does not. Take action before the next surge of attention drives prices even higher. Picture this. You discover a strong double die example. You authenticate it. You grade it. You strategically choose the right marketplace. Suddenly, what was once 1 cent becomes life-altering capital. Maybe it funds a dream. Maybe it pays off debt. Maybe it becomes reinvestment money into other rare coins. The point is not fantasy. The point is possibility backed by demand, and here's the humorous truth. Somewhere tonight, someone will throw a 1957 penny into a tip jar without looking at it. Don't let that be you. Start checking. Start learning. Start acting with urgency. Because opportunity does not announce itself loudly. It whispers. And only those paying attention hear it. The next time you see the profile of Abraham Lincoln staring back at you from a copper coin dated 1957, don't see 1 cent. see potential, see history, see leverage, and most importantly, see what others fail to see. Because sometimes, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is simply taking a closer look. What if I told you that a single copper penny, small, ordinary, overlooked, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a gold coin, not a rare silver dollar, but a simple 1958 1-cent coin sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten box in your attic. Today, we're uncovering the extraordinary story behind the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny, one of the most electrifying coins tied to the legendary Lincoln wheat penny series, and why collectors are paying prices that could change a life. Let's begin with Act 1, the discovery. The year is 1958. America is booming. Suburbs are expanding. Rock and roll is rising. And the United States Mint is producing millions of pennies for everyday commerce. Most of these coins feature the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the familiar wheat stalks framing the reverse design, marking the final year of the wheat penny era before the Lincoln Memorial replaced it in 1959. Now here's where the story turns. In 1958, pennies struck in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. That's normal. But what's not normal, what sets hearts racing in the numismatic world, is when a coin from that year exhibits a rare and dramatic minting anomaly. The most famous and coveted among them is the 1958 double die obverse error. And when this error appears on a 1958 penny with no mint mark, the results are nothing short of explosive. Imagine looking closely at your coin and seeing bold doubling on the date and inscriptions, clear separation in the letters of Liberty, and In God We Trust. Not a faint shadow, not a trick of the light, but unmistakable, dramatic doubling created during the die manufacturing process itself. That's not damage. That's history frozen in copper. And here's the part that grabs attention. Only a handful of authentic 1958 double die obverse pennies are known to exist. Fewer than most people have fingers on one hand. This scarcity creates demand. And demand creates value. When one of these rare 1958 no-mint mark double die pennies surfaced in high-grade condition, it sent shockwaves through the collector community. Competitive bidding drove the price to staggering heights, approaching the $997,000 mark in elite auctions. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent, now worth nearly $1 million. Why? Because serious collectors aren't buying metal. They're buying rarity, historical significance, and exclusivity. They're buying the final chapter of the wheat penny era. They're buying a documented minting mistake from a year when such dramatic errors were virtually non-existent. And here's something that should make you lean in closer. Most people who owned these coins had no idea what they were holding. They passed through circulation. They sat in coffee cans. They were spent at grocery stores. 1 cent at a time. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually examined the pennies in your possession? Or did you assume they were just pocket change? This is where excitement meets urgency. Because the 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny with a true double die error is in extraordinarily high demand among advanced collectors. Auction houses light up when one appears. Professional grading services authenticate them with microscopic precision. And when confirmed, the coin instantly becomes a trophy asset. Now, let's pause for a second. If you're thinking, well, I've seen doubling before. Be careful. Not all doubling is created equal. Machine doubling is common and carries little premium. True double die errors, however, originate during die creation and display strong, distinct separation. This is where expertise matters. This is where verification matters. And this is where fortunes are protected, or missed. Here's the truth that separates casual coin holders from strategic collectors and sellers. Opportunity rarely announces itself loudly. It hides in ordinary places. It waits in old jars. It sits in inherited collections. It rests in forgotten envelopes labeled wheat pennies. The 1958 wheat penny represents the end of an era. It's the final wheat reverse before the design transitioned in 1959. That alone gives it historical weight. But when you combine that with a rare double die obverse in pristine condition, you create a perfect storm of desirability. And markets reward perfect storms. In today's collector landscape, rare era coins are not just collectibles, they are alternative assets. Tangible, portable, finite, immune to digital volatility. High net worth buyers actively pursue pieces that almost never come to market. And when they do, competition drives prices upward rapidly. Imagine discovering that a small copper disc in your possession could fund your retirement, eliminate debt, or open the door to the lifestyle you've envisioned for years. That's not fantasy. That's the power of rarity meeting awareness. But here's the emotional pivot: fear of missing out is real. Every year, rare coins are unknowingly spent, cleaned, or damaged because their owners never recognize their significance. Cleaning a coin like this can erase tens of thousands of dollars in value instantly. Handling it improperly can reduce its grade and dramatically affect its market potential. So what should you do? First, inspect your 1958 pennies carefully under magnification. Look for bold, dramatic doubling in the lettering and date. Second, never clean the coin. Preserve it exactly as it is. Third, consult a reputable coin grading service or trusted numismatic professional for authentication. In the world of high-value coins, proof and condition are everything. Let me reset your attention with a simple thought. If someone handed you a lottery ticket worth nearly $1 million, would you crumple it up and toss it in your pocket with loose change? Of course not. And yet, that's exactly what happens every day with rare coins. The 1958 no-mint Mark V penny with a true double-die error stands as one of the most dramatic examples of how small details create massive outcomes. It connects American history, minting artistry, scarcity economics, and collector psychology into one powerful narrative. And here's the beautiful part: this story isn't finished. Because somewhere, right now, there may still be one waiting to be discovered. Sitting unnoticed. Underestimated. Quiet. Just like opportunity often is. The difference between those who build wealth and those who miss it isn't luck, it's awareness and action. Examine your coins. Educate yourself. Protect what you find. And if you uncover something extraordinary, position it strategically in the marketplace where serious buyers compete. A single cent changed hands in 1958. Today, that same cent, under the right conditions, can command nearly $997,000. The question is not whether these coins exist. The question is, will you be the one who recognizes it before someone else does?